So we got the cylinder head off the motor over here on the bench. I'm going to hot tank this head along with the engine block to get everything as clean as I can. But before I hot tank this, I want to go ahead and pull my valves out, pull all the seals out, and all the guides. And I want to do that just to try to help it, get a little cleaner and maybe get some water actually through the ports versus just down in here and stuck behind some valves. So to get these valves off, you're going to want a magnet, and you're going to need some kind of valve spring compressor. They're pretty simple. Valve spring compressor, this piece here goes on your valve face, spring goes up in here, and then you just clamp it down and it compresses the spring. Use your little magnet, pull your keepers out, and just set them to the side. If you buy a whole new valve kit for your tractor, they'll come with springs, the guides, and the seals, which are only on the intake, and new keepers. However, these retainers do not come in the kit. I'm not sure if you can buy them separate or not, so try not to damage your retainers. But to get a valve spring and a valve off, first thing you're going to have to do is turn your head onto the side. And let's see here. Okay, so now that we have our head on its side so we can reach both sides of the valve, we're going to take our compressor I'm going to stick it around the head and make sure we center our valve on both sides. And then we just tighten up this compressor. It compresses our spring. Reach in here with a magnet. There's one keeper. There's the other keeper. And then just slowly ease the pressure off of your spring. Okay. So there's the retainer. Like I say, you need to save this, which will clean it up really well. There's our old spring. And this is an exhaust valve. But our guide's right here. It'll have to be driven out. Whenever you put these back in, try to not damage them. If you do, you can kind of just take a drill and kind of like clean up your end where you may have mushroomed it or something. But be careful not to damage your new ones. Okay, so now there's the exhaust valve. Your intake valve is going to be the same way. It's just a different style keeper. Same thing, just set it on there and compress it. Pull your keepers, and these are the wedge style, which is what a lot of cars use. And just release the pressure. There's our retainer. Valve spring. See, here's our seal. And that seal is hard as a rock. And then the valve slides out. And there's the intake valve. So, this little guy here, this is also part of your retainer. It goes down. It'll go into the other one. So now to get these guides out. There is no stop on these guides. So you got to remember how deep these guides go in here. I don't know how exact they need to be, but you need to measure these probably within a 1/16 of an inch, I would think, and keep track of them. And of course, all the other valves come out the same, so I'm not going to video any of that. One other mention, this is your freeze plug. There's 1 in the head and 3 in the block. They are 2 1/16 inch diameter. I recommend changing these whenever you rebuild your engine, because these can leak, and it's just, they're cheap, they're simple to do. Now, to get these guides out, so you just use a punch. And you just knock them out. And one other thing is, on our diesels, we actually have a line right here. We can actually use that as a gauge to go back. There's a lot of carbon buildup in here on my exhaust valve, so I can't get good and flat on the edge of the guide like I can in this one. And you see how bad it damaged it, so you gotta be aware of that when you put them back. So I'm just taking a little screwdriver and just knocking some of this carbon off. Okay, so now that I got all the carbon cleaned off that valve guide, I can go on it straight and knock it out just like I did with the intake guide. Youch. Okay, there's the exhaust guide. Like I say, the intake guide is a little longer than the exhaust guide. So that's how you get one cylinder cleaned up, ready to roll to go to the hot tank. So now I'll just do that for the other 3 cylinders, and she'll be ready for the hot tank. Okay, and there's the head fully bare. And one thing I noticed when I was taking it apart, all the exhaust valves had a lower washer on the spring seat, and that was just on the exhaust valves. Now it's ready to be hot tanked and cleaned up.